believe in the gun. And our players don't use it most days. They use it every day.
In my 20 years as head coach, I've used the gun every single year. Well, my dream as a coach that everybody would grow up with the gun, because getting all those reps would make my job a lot easier.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is the NABC Championship webinar series. My name is Tom McDonald. I'm on the board of directors for the two-year college rep for the NABC. Troy's not going to be with us. Troy Hilton, they've got a staff meeting. I've also been with Championship Productions for almost 20 years. Special thanks to the NABC, Jim Haney, Reggie Minton, Troy Hilton, Eric Walberg, Rick Letty, Mark, Matt, all of them. They all have been fantastic on the side of social media, advice, just all their support. The Gun for sponsoring these events and our unbelievable turnout. Sideline Interactive is going to give away one table, 8 feet long, LED, free shipping, valued over $11,000. Craig Reed, all those coaches that have been stuck at home and can't get to their office, can't get their equipment, has sent marker boards, magnetic boards, clipboards, whatever they've needed. Mike Bray from Notre Dame for his support. He was the past president of the NABC. Jamie Dixon, now the current president of the NABC. Our board of directors have been nothing but phenomenal in the support, marketing, and also their time and efforts. Championship Productions, Bill Bergen, Nate Landis, Daryl Bennett. Before I introduce Vance Walberg, he has been one of the best attractions ever for Championship Productions. For Ed Janka when he was running the Nike Championship clinics, and then also we were lucky enough to have Coach speak in Kansas City. He's a fantastic educator and teacher and sharer of knowledge. This year they won the league, lost in the sectional championship game, finished 26-6. He's coached for 42 years, 28 as a high school coach, 4 as a community college coach, 5 as a Division I head coach and assistant, and 5 years in the NBA. I think I hit everything, Coach. I would say the one that catches everybody is this. He talks about his dribble drive, and he's unbelievable. He's the inventor, the creator, all that. But his defensive stuff, when we did those videos on the 2-2-1, his defensive system is absolutely off the charts too. So if you ever want to buy a video or you ever want to see what he's all about on the offense and the defensive side, Championship Productions. But Coach, warmest welcomes to having you on. It's great to see you again. You look I never would have thought 42 years as a coach. There's no way.
It's gone by fast, Tom. Thank you.
My first question to you is this. Really just walk me through, if you could, your history, your the journey, but also when was that day that your offense and defensive system kind of came together into this juggernaut of the dribble drive and the defense? You always say your defense is better than the dribble drive, but if you could walk us through just your journey.
It started back in 1978, 79, a lot of decades ago, and I took over a high school that was 1-41 the 2 years before I got there. We went 5-16 my first year, and they thought it was great. It just about killed me. And at that time, I was on the West Coast in California, and Carol Williams was the head coach at Santa Clara, and Carol was running the flex, and I obviously ran the flex, learning from him, doing different things. And then what I started to do in 1987, in 87, I started to go to see a different coach every year. That year I saw Bobby Knight. The following year I saw Lute Olson. The following year I saw Krzyzewski, Dean Smith, and Balvano, and I kept doing that. I kept evolving. I wanted to get better every year. I would spend a week every year to see that coach. I would take my own time, my own money. I paid for it myself. The school was nice enough to give me sub days, but I covered it myself. Went to see those coaches. They were nice enough to let me see what they did. And every year I just wanted to get better. I did that all the way up till eventually I became a Division I head coach. One of the years I went to go see Nolan Richardson at Arkansas when he was running his 40 minutes of hell. And I always pressed and did different things, but I really loved what Nolan did and his desire, and kind of changed my press a little bit at that time. And when I changed the press, what I decided to do is go trap to trap during that time, anytime it was a vertical pass. And I also decided to stay into that defense the whole time. So a combination of where we started to press on every miss, and then press on makes, press on dead balls. We kind of really started to screw with the game. And so when we started to do our own practice, because we press on misses and we went from trap to trap, I was not able to run my own half-court offense. So obviously I had to change it. And that was kind of the start of that. It also coincided at the same time I had some pretty good guards. I think a lot of high school coaches will go with this. Usually you have a lot more guards than you do bigs. And at the time, most of the bigs I had, they weren't my best player. They weren't even my second or third best player. And I was going to myself, back then most of the teams were 3 out, 2 in, or they were 4 out, 1 in, post on the strong side. And I had a couple of really good guards, and they would beat their player, and then all of a sudden the big guy was in the way. So the evolution kind of started back in the late 90s, where I put the post on the opposite side. Then I put them lower. Then I expanded the wings. And honestly, Tom, the players were the ones that really created the offense. I kind of just took advantage of what they did, and then kind of kept the spacing and the gaps, and then we kind of, evolved from there.
Now, your offense and defense have been successful at all levels, but as you 75% to 80% of these coaches that are on, the educators that are on your call today, are high school coaches. So of those levels, high school, junior college, and Division I and NBA, which is the most difficult to implement it, and which one I'll ask it that way. Which one was the most difficult to implement?
Well, I would say the NBA is a little bit harder. You're not going to do the dribble drive the whole time in the NBA, because that's a lot of work. And when you play, 7 to 8 preseason games, 82 regular playoffs, another possible 28, you're not going to go that hard. There's a lot of NBA teams that took, when I worked with George Karl in Denver, before I got there, George flew me out a couple of times, and George understood that. I think the big part that he really liked was kind of more the shot selection, the understanding of trying to get 3 every time, whether it's the old-fashioned 3, or the 3-pointer. I try to, let people know, we always have a little saying, you like threes, love layups. The reason you really would love the layups is you want to get that attacking mentality, because I think that's the number one thing on the dribble drive, is to be able to attack and keep attacking. That way, for me and for my teams, the best way you can get there, the best shot is always that free throw percentage, and you want to be able to do that. But the NBA would probably be the hardest one if you want to run it all the time. For us, coming back to high school, I came back when I was in high school the first time at Clovis West. I was here 13 years, and we developed the program and bits and pieces, and all the players played that. Coming back, I had players that didn't do it. So trying to reteach it, I'm starting to see all the little things, that I've learned myself doing it.
Coach, one thing I didn't mention is you're at Clovis High School.
Clovis
right?
West. Clovis
West. So could somebody come and watch your practice? Would you allow them to?
Yes. At the end of this, I'll put my email up. I have high school coaches, JC, Division I coaches. I mean, Coach Calipari, when I first started doing it, John, came out. I was in junior college at the time, came out and watched several of my practices. I've had, a lot of different coaches come through. I haven't come through all the time. I have no problem whatsoever. And also what I'll do at the end for the high school coaches, anybody wants, I'll put up, I always get asked, do you have some practice schedules and so forth? And I'll put up some of my different practices so they can see how I incorporate both the defense and the offense.
Perfect. And then what I'm going to do is while you're speaking, I'm going to put up every video you've ever done and how they can find it. So that's one thing. So what we're going to do is this. Coach is going to give you his email address later on, so you don't have to ask that question. And then 2 is I'll be monitoring the questions and answers. And when Coach takes a little break once in a while or takes a breath, I'll ask him the question. So, Coach, I'm going to turn it over to you. And Lonnie, if you need to help Coach with anything, you're off to the races. Thanks, Coach, for being with us.
You got it, Tom. Here we go. When I first started, this offense came about by just pure luck. It wasn't like I said, hey, I'm going to sit down and create an offense. When I originally started, I just called it attack, attack, skip, attack, attack. We called it awesome. When I had a chance to meet Coach Cal, I actually was one of the years, one of my best friends, John Welch, was working with UB Brown with the Memphis Grizzlies at the time. And John said, hey, why don't you come out? I'll get you to watch some practices with Coach Cal and also with Coach Brown, with UB. And it was great. That was one of the weeks I spent. As soon as I got off the plane, I went over to see Coach Cal, and he was doing a little clinic at the time. And as soon as that clinic was over, typical John, we're on the side court over there, and we're going through things right away. Our friendship developed from there. We spent a lot of time together, John and myself, talking about things, going through things. When he started to implement it, I remember, Jesus, he would call me 2-3 times when he's practicing. Hey, Vance, what are you doing this? What are you doing that? And different things. And just his passion, I still remember, of just learning it and seeing it was really kind of neat. Like I said, I'm just a high school coach. I'm a nobody. Somebody that loves the game, wants to get better. One thing with the dribble drive, it will always evolve. It will never change. Things that will never change on this, things that will never change are what I call the big three of the dribble drive. The attack mentality. You have to have the mentality at all times to want to attack that rack. To me, that's always been number one. 2, you got to open the gaps. And I'll explain about single, double, and triple gaps and what I call super gap. And then the spacing. How do you space to open those gaps? How do you space once you start to attack? But those 3 things will never change. Other things will change. You're like where you put the post, how far you put the post. I've had my wings when I first started way back. My wings were 3 full line extended. But I had a really good point guard at the time, could be this guy and set people up. But once he graduated, the next guards I had weren't good enough. So that's when it taught me to move the wings down. So there's a lot of things that will always change with the dribble drive, but these 3 things never will. The different zones on the dribble drive, and again, I'm going to go through this quick because I think most people know it. In the backcourt, we call it the blowout zone. Once we get over the backcourt, and the reason I call it the blowout zone in the backcourt is I want to blow that ball up the court as fast as possible. I think everybody realizes passing up the court is much faster than dribbling up the court. So if we can pass it up, we pass it up. I always like to have my wings be 3-point line extended when they come down my 2 and my 3. Once the ball gets over half court, we can't hit the wings, then they will drop to their so-called corners. As a ball handler, when I hit the breakdown zone, that's the old hash marks. When I hit the breakdown zone, that's when I'm thinking about, okay, can I get to the rack or can I get to the rack? If I can't get to the rack, then I might make some other type of play. I might pass to the 5, cut through, whatever else. Now, the 3 other zones that you see, they're the drop zone, the drag zone, and the rack zone. Obviously, we always want to try and get to the rack zone. I told you earlier, love layups like 3s. Now, you've noticed this, and I was doing this back in the late 90s where I want to do this. You notice the NBA, quite a few of the teams have gone to this, lately. Obviously, Houston takes, the Rockets do a really good job of doing this. I think they're more to love 3s than love layups. But it's up to you. When teams zone us, and I'll go over this later on, when we get zoned, we go to more 3s. But we really want to get to that rack zone. If we can't get to the rack zone, if we stop in the drop zone, that starts a whole different set of options that we can do. It's our backdoors, it's our give and go, our DHOs, there's different things we do there. In the drag zone, if I hit the drag zone, anytime I get to the drag zone as a driver, my number 1 look is always to score. My number 2 look is going to be to my big man underneath up high. My number 3 look is if I can't score and if 5X comes over to try and stop me, then we're looking for the skip out to the whatever side that we attack. So the drag zone, and the reason I call it drag, I know it kind of screws people up in the NBA. I wasn't in the NBA at the time I did this, but I call it the drag zone. I know a drag in the NBA is that you send your pick and roll, but for me, the drag zone is once we hit that, the opposite corner is dragging up. Person behind me is dragging behind. That's why I call that the drag zone. Some basic terminology, and I don't want to spend a lot of time just because I think most people know about the dribble drive now. I do my numbering a little bit different. My 1 is my point guard like most people. My 2 and my 3 are the wings like most people. The only difference I have is my 5 is like my second point guard. My 5 is another ball handler out top. My 1 and my 5 are my bookends up top. They're the ones that are going to drive more. My 2s and 3s are going to shoot more from the wings. Now, obviously, the more you advance this and what you'd like to have, you'd love to have your 1, 2, 3, and 5 all be able to shoot and drive. I think everybody would love to have that. And that's what we try. If they can drive really well, we want them to be able to learn how to shoot the 3. If they can shoot really well, we want them to learn how to drive. A lot of players that shoot well that don't know how to drive, we teach them how to back cut, how to backdoor, how to cut, how to keep moving. So
hey,
just
Coach,
again, yes.
Can I interrupt? Do you have all this on your PowerPoint?
Yes.
Is it supposed to be up now, or are you waiting to put that up?
No, it's up for me. Is it not up for you guys?
It's not up for us, because if you could share it. Sorry about that.
I am so sorry. I thought it was up. Oh, I see is my PowerPoint. You don't see it, huh?
Nope. Lonnie, what's he need to do?
Go to your Zoom go to Zoom on your computer there, your Zoom window.
Okay. And I
do the share screen and optimize video like we talked about.
While Coach is doing this, we got some extra time so don't feel like we're in no rush. Coach is the best, so we'll get this thing started.
Do you see it yet?
Yep,
yeah.
I see it.
Yep.
There
Okay.
you go, Coach. It's perfect. Perfect.
Yeah, I'm sorry for those out there. We talked about this, the different zones. This is here. And I just gonna keep moving on. We'll go through this down the line here. I was up to the basic terminology, talking about my numbers. Again, my 1 and my 5 are my drivers. And I love it, especially in high school. I love having 2 point guards. I think most of your teams, when you can have two good point guards out there, and it's nice if one's a little taller than the other, you don't have 2 small of them, you become that much more effective. My 2 side for me is the right side, the 3 side is the left side. My 4-man is my rim runner. I always kind of joke with this. Most 5s all want to be 4s. So what I did is I just told my big guy, you're a 4. He's still running down the lane, still doing the same thing. The gaps we talk about are the single, double, triple, and what I call the super gap. Okay, the single gap is guard to guard up top. A single gap would be guard to wing if the wing's at the free throw line extended. Okay, a double gap would be if the guard's at the top and the wing is down in the corner, that's a double gap. It's just a bigger gap. That's all it is. And a triple gap is if we go guard to guard, cut through, open up that whole gap where you go from one side of the court to the other. And you can hear me talk about that a lot today when you go from one side of the court to the other. We really want to attack from one side to the other. And a super gap is something else that I've added through the years. That's a little bit further. That's going actually from almost driving from like the 2 wing free throw line extended to the 3 wing free throw line, go from one side to the other. Drops for me are the drop zone. And once we hit the drop zone, if we stop, we're talking about back doors. The drag, we talked about that a little bit earlier. Once I hit the drag zone, my looks are going to be score. My looks are going to be look high or skip it. Open window. And what the open window for me means is whenever you penetrate, if I'm that wing opposite of the penetration, I have to find where that opening is. Where is my man playing? If I'm the 3 and they're driving down the 1 slot, 3X might be in the way, so 3's got to find a way to get open. Kick-ups are anytime we penetrate and the man out of the corner comes up. Kickbacks are anytime we penetrate and somebody comes behind. Double, triple kicks, you're going to find out when you really become good at this You're going to see some double and triple kick action all going at the same time. Where I talk about four-man relocate, that's my big going from one side to the other. A four-man teeing up, that's when there's a baseline drive and they're going to the middle of the key. And a four-man cleaning up, that's whenever we penetrate. We expect the four-man, if there's a miss, to try and clean those things up. I want to just go over some fallacies of the dribble drive that people kind of through the years I hear when I do different clinics. Everybody think it's dribble, 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 and it's really not. Please understand that. If there's one thing that you can get from today is there's all kinds of ways to be able to attack, whether it's passing, whether it's moving, whether it's cutting. Obviously, we want to attack off the dribble, but not every one of your players can attack off the dribble. When I came back to Clovis West here, I had a lot of kids that could not take you off the dribble. I still don't have like I used to when I had so many years of working with those kids. So what we try and teach them is if I can beat my man off the dribble, go ahead. If I can't, I'm going to pass, cut, keep moving till we get an advantage. Okay, I'm going to go through a few things coming up to show you how we can take advantage of those that can't. I have some coaches go, you don't get an easy shot every time. I don't think there's any offense out there that's going to get you an easy shot every time. I will tell you this, through the years, coaches that use the dribble drive in their area first or that really work with it, and especially those that use the dribble drive with the pressing defense in their area, have had a ton of success. I can't tell you how many coaches have emailed me back through the years and thanked me for all the different things that they've gotten. Another fallacy, must have better players to run this. When we started running this, you got to understand, in California, we're in Fresno, we're in the Central California. Basketball here is not anything compared to LA. Okay, you go down to LA, you're going to have so many teams that are really good. We gave ourselves a chance to be able to play with those teams and eventually beat those teams because of the dribble drive. I think the one thing I'm going to try and show you, hopefully teach you this, that with the dribble drive, you can make a good player look a lot better than they are. You can make an average player become a good player. You can make a great player really, really become a fantastic player just because of the different things that we do. The last thing about this, a lot of times, I have a lot of coaches that will watch us play and they look at, they watch me and they go, geez, you don't do any coaching. You just sit there and your guys are up and down doing these things and looks crazy. I do my coaching in practice. When we play, I want the players to play. One of the biggest things I talk about the dribble drive is we teach them how to play, not how to run plays. And that really doing this through the years, when we do the daily 45 drills, and that is basically our first 45 minutes of the drills. When we do those, we teach them how to play during that time. We do the coaching during that time. I always tell my players, if we're in an up and down tempo and you're looking at me for a call, I'm going to pull you out. I expect you to go up and down. Now, obviously, we have a lot of different set plays. A lot of different plays we can run out of this. Those will be on ATOs, dead balls, free throws, side beats, different things like that. We'll take advantage of that. I think there's three ways you can make your players look a lot better than they are. The first one is always going to be opening the gaps. I see a lot of coaches. You watch a lot of turnovers that you have, and I'm going to show you another slide here why a lot of them come that way. If you can open up a double gap and drive that double gap compared to try and split a single gap, the advantage of your success is going to go up. Now, if you can make it a triple gap instead of a double gap, now your chance of success goes up even more. Just imagine if you only open up a gap that's so big, then you double that gap, then you triple that gap. Obviously, you're going to give your kids a chance for success a lot more. The next thing is one of the things that I've learned through the years. We try and teach go and catch, not catch and go. What I mean by that is I love to see the players get it on the run and continue. A lot of guys will run the dribble drive where they do a kick up, they catch it, they stop, then they go. I'm really big when I work with Coach Carl with Denver and Sacramento. George was really big on, look, when you catch it, shoot it. I don't want you to catch it, play with it. I don't even want you to catch and fake it. That's one of the things that we teach our corners. I don't like passing the ball to a corner, somebody in the corner, unless they have a three. The other thing I've even gone from that, I don't like any of my players catching the ball standing unless they're ready to shoot the three. If they don't think they can shoot the three, then they should be catching it on the go. So we call it go and catch versus catch and go. And that's basically kick-ups and kickbacks. Here you're going to see a little go and catch. It's nothing fancy. Guy catch through, go. Here you see the guy continue, go, get the catch. Again, I don't think he would have got that same layup if he would have stopped on that. I'll show it again. Here's the bigger screen. It's never going to be perfect. Four-man should actually, when a drive comes, a four-man should have reached. You can see the action there. Now here's a go and catch. We're coming down just in the flow of the offense. Nothing fancy, but we just continue. It's not really kind of called a freeze dribble. We attack that way. Again, you're going to see this. Take a look at this. No, you're going to see right here. This guard's going to, when he attacks this guard, you're going to see he's open. But even with the man in the corner, how wide open he is. So again, it's just we're just in the flow of going through things. Now here's a catch and go instead of a go and catch. You're going to notice my three man when he catches it, he stops, hesitates, now he goes. Okay, that is one of the. I have three things that are kind of pet peeves for me. One is catch and go, which means you hesitate, then you go. I know at the high school level, how many times the guy catch it, go, and his feet kind of twirl. You know, one goes beyond them, they call the traveling. Another one of my areas of turnovers that I through the years have noticed I'm not a big fan of is driving three-side baseline. And now obviously we do drive the three baseline. A lot of times when we drive it, I'll set the play up so we can set that play up just so that we can get that drive on that baseline. But I don't like my driving three baseline. I tell him if he drives three baseline, he's got to be able to score it himself. So that's one of the things. And then the other turnover that I see a lot is straight line passes in the paint. We do a lot of teaching. When you drive, our first look is high. I always kind of joke and I say our second look is high, just so they understand to get that look of looking high. Your third look might be the bounce pass. And then obviously you might be able to get the wraparound pass to your four-man. But I don't like driving and throwing straight line passes. We do it at times, and at times it's successful. But I'm going to tell you, a lot of times you're going to see where it's not. Again, you're going to see here the replay of this again, where he stops, goes, and goes three baseline. So he did 2 to 3 things that I really don't like. Okay, again, on this action here on go and catch, you're going to see the four-man relocate and get himself. We get it on the move. Four-man relocates, gets the easy basket. This is one of my favorites. I love just playing in the flow, just getting and going. Here you're going to see action. We get the stop, bring it on down. Four-man runs pretty well. Get a kickback, another kickback, drive, get it there. Again, to have this be successful, your four-man, my four-man inside right, he's running forward good. My two-man gets to his corner well. The spacing is so critical. Oops, sorry. The spacing is so critical on this. And that's where I don't think a lot of people understand. A lot of times that two-man, instead of running to the corner, will be up high and he'll jam things up. Again, just the action in the flow just makes it so much better. Now we'll do the same action. We'll come down, and there's times that the defense will go underneath. And if they do, we don't hesitate to shoot the three. This kid I have right now, he's a pretty special shooter. And if teams do go under, we'll shoot it anytime. So if we do a kickback action, they want to go underneath, we don't hesitate. Again, I always go back to like threes, love layups. They know we want to attack the rack. Okay, the third area, we talked about the first two of opening the gaps, getting the double and triple gaps. We talked about how to have that attack mentality and keep attacking. The third area I think that make a player look really good is when you can go from one side of the court to the other. And basically, you know, I knew when I was growing up, we always wanted to skip the ball. The reason you want to skip the ball so you can create closeouts. When you get closeouts, you can get that penetration easily. The one thing running the dribble drive I learned through the years is what happens when you drive. See, when the ball's on one side, and I got the strong side corner guarded, I think most players know if I'm strong side corner guarded, I'm going to, obviously the way the three is now, and that player's a pretty good shooter. We're not going to give that three up. So that's no problem. But when that ball goes to the weak side and all of a sudden you come back to the strong side, that's where it really screws people up. You're going to see here just a little play at the end of a quarter. Sometimes we call it replays. We hit, cut through, come back. Now we attack. Now that weak side corner is driving. Again, I'll show this on a little bit bigger screen right here. It happens to be the end of a quarter. We're going to hit one, come back, get it. Now I'm sorry. You see, ding dong. Still, you'll see how big that gap is. Pretty easy to drive when you have this big of a gap. Now that strong side, that weak side guy right here has no clue what's going on. And we attack so many people that way. You know, we do the same play and we do it to our foreman inside. We cut through. Now we go right to the foreman. We kind of curl off the hand. It's our little replace. You're going to see another. This play worked pretty well this game. We ran it a couple of times, scored both times. Cut through, open the gap. Here we go. Little action there. Very simple play, but very effective to get our foreman going. Okay, another thing now. These are changes through the years. I started running the dribble drive, I'd say running the dribble. We started with ASA in the beginning of the dribble drive back in probably about 96, 97. I had some really good guards coming through. And what I started to figure out through the years is, look, on the 4-out, 1 in, the advantage of the 4-out, 1 in is that on the 4-out, I got an open post. The advantage of a 3-out, 2 in is that you have bigger gaps. So you go with your point and you can extend your wings better. Okay, so what I try to do through the years is why not take the best out of both of them? Okay, so the way to take the best out of both of them is to keep a man in motion. I really don't like coming down with 2 guards at all up top. The only time I like the 2 guards at top at the same time is if we're going to run a play. Otherwise, I want one of them to cut through. Okay, so what we try and teach them on that cutting is that always when you cut through, if I cut through, cut and then lag at the basket. I'm going to cut hard to score. I'm going to lag at the basket. When I lag at the basket, see which way the guy's going. If I go one way, he'll go the other. The other thing that we try to teach now, one of the different things that we've taught my players through the years, to me, there's only 3 ways you can guard somebody in the corner. Either you're going to hug them, either you're going to play flat side, or you're going to play high side. What I mean by hugging, obviously you're going to just stay next to that guy. We stay in that corner. That's what it is. Before, I used to say, be patient when you're in the corners. Now, strong side corner, I don't want to be patient anymore unless they're being hugged. Okay, strong side, if they're playing high side, we expect them to look for the back door. If they're playing flat, we expect them to kick up. So in this
Coach, can I ask you a couple questions?
Yes, you can.
How about triple threat? How do you deal with that?
That's a question I get a lot. And some people are going to be really mad at me on this. If I was coaching, now obviously coaching now, we don't teach the triple threat anymore. And the reason I don't like teaching the triple threat is you teach them, they get there, they get the ball. God, it looks really nice when they put that ball on the triple threat. See, for me, I want them to get the ball on the run. If they're going to catch it standing, I expect them to shoot it. And it's going to be, and I'm going to tell you, I'm going to show you through some of the films here. If you're not as good a driver as a person that's guarding you, if you get it on the run, it makes you a better driver. If you get it on the run and there's a double or triple gap, you're even going to be that much better. Where that person struggles, Tom, is when they catch it, they stop. Because once you stop, now the defense gets a chance to load up. And since they load up, now when you drive, your gaps aren't as big. So I've gone away from teaching the triple threat. Obviously, it's effective. I think it's good. You want to be able to do those three things. But honestly, the game has evolved so much and changed so much. I'm not a big fan of it anymore. I know it probably pisses off a lot of people, but that's just me.
What one-on-one moves do you teach your kids, your players, to beat their defender?
I'm going to go over that later on. I'm going to teach them how we clip the hips, all the teaching points that we try and teach them on that. That's going to come up in a little bit.
Okay.
Again, one of the best drills to do on that, and I don't know if I have it in here later on, we play one-on-one with the whole man. And what that is, we'll go to different parts of the court. We'll throw the ball out. One person will be at the old free throw, the jump ball circle. Throw it out, say, to the three-point line, and then they're going to play one-on-one. We have a third person, that's the whole man, who's a defender inside. So we do one-on-one with the whole man, and we only let them have 2 dribbles. So they have to learn how to beat their guy. Not only if they beat their guy, there's another defender there. And it's really a tough game. We do one-on-one with the whole man. We do 2-on-2 with the whole man, 3-on-3 with the whole man, even 4-on-4 with the whole man. But it's a good little drill. But I'll go over those teaching points later.
Do you have your corner 2 or 3 wait for the ball handler to come jump stop in the drop zone, or should the corner guy leave early?
Great, and that's one of the evolutions of the offense. We used to jump stop in the corner, jump stop in the drop zone, and that would be the read for the corner man to go up or go back or do whatever he wants. Now the reads are real simple. Once I start driving, if they're playing high side, they know they're going to back cut. They can back cut right away. If they're playing flat, they can kick up right away. And the reason I like them to kick up right away or go right away is that it opens things up a lot sooner. If I stop in the drop zone, I will make a jump stop, and now we have an offense out of that. But on the kick up, we don't stop. We do that all in motion. And this is some of these clips here will show that, Tom.
Okay, I have a versatile team. Do you think it's possible for a team to be proficient in the dribble drive and the mover blocker at the same time?
That's up to you as a coach. I love the dribble drive, and we run some box sets at times, come out of ATOs. But the reason I like the dribble drive and the defense that we run is I'm always going to put pressure on you. And that's the biggest thing I want people to understand. Defensively, we're going to press you on a make. We're going to press you on a miss. We're going to press you on a dead ball. We're going to press you on a free throw make or miss. On offense, I want to come down hard at them all the time. Now, obviously, if it's a dead ball, ATO, free throw, where they're back already, now we might run some of our different things. But you have to decide that as a coach. I have a lot of coaches that take bits and pieces of it, and they like it. I have other coaches that believe in it completely and go to it. So it's up to you.
If you don't teach the triple threat, do you ever have them shot fake and attack?
Another very good question. Yes, normally they will. Again, with Coach Carl in Denver, George was a real big proponent of never shot faking out on for a 3. He either says catch it and shoot it or catch it and drive it. He was not a big fan of the shot fake. Where I think the shot fake on a 3 is really critical is that at the end of a shot clock. So many people want to block a shot at the end of a shot clock. That's where I really think it's big. But I'm big on, if you don't have the 3, let's get it in action and let's get it moving.
I think I know this answer. Do you run any offensive ball screening into the dribble drive concept?
Before I didn't, and part of the reason I don't like running a lot of screening and roll action, especially at the high school level, and the reason I say that at the high school level, I've gone to every different level. In the NBA, the whole game is set up for pick and roll. The key is bigger. The defensive 3 seconds, they can't be in there. You think NBA guys, they can't be in the key for 3 seconds or it's a technical foul. They're not going to run in, out every 2.9 seconds. So a lot of them are going to stay outside, okay? And then the other advantage in the NBA is you can have a guy like Kevin Garnett he can set 10 illegal screens. They might call 1. And when they call the 1, he's going to give them such a frown and a stare that they're not going to call it again. In high school, you watch anytime there's anything close to the illegal screen, they're going to call it. So there's a lot of different reasons. But I actually have a couple of clips where we actually do go some pick and roll. And
One more.
Go ahead,
Sorry,
Tom.
Coach. Do you still lift your weak side wing out of the corner with your initial spacing as opposed to having both wings in the actual corner? Is that the case? Could you explain that why?
Okay, now what I do now is my two is in the right hand, my two's on the right side. His right foot, the technical part where we teach this, and again, we know it's not going to carry over the game, but we want to get it as much as we can in practice. His right foot is front of the rim extended. The 3 is actually a step below the free throw line, even though we call that the corner. The 3 is elevated more than the 2 is. The reason I do that is I don't want 3X down when we drive, be able to be so close to 4X. Plus, when we drive, I don't like 3. I want 3 to already be dragging up in that motion already, keeping that open window a little bit better.
Last one I'm going to ask you before you can go, so you can get going. Have you added or modified any of your drills, blood drills, daily 45, you use or teach the dribble drive?
Oh, yeah. We're always modifying them. We're doing a lot of different things with them, different angles. Our cardinal drill, I do from 3/4 court at times. Now, sometimes we do half court, sometimes we do 3/4 court. There's a lot of different things I'm always going to modify. Like I said, things are going to evolve. I want to try and keep my players, make them the best they can. And that's kind of the neat thing about going back, even being a head coach at the high school. I get to do what I want to do and put the things that I like to do. And for me, I'm always going to modify the different drills.
Coach, I'm going to let you go back to work.
Okay. So right on this clip right here, you're going to see where they come down. We cut through. We get a kick up here, one side or the other. You're going to see that action there. Again, when you hear, you patient, just being in that corner, you patient, really important. A lot of times, him giving that layup, him being patient kept his man, and that opens up so many different things for us. Okay, now you're going to see the player gets played high side. We teach them if they're going to be played high side, we want to back. Okay, you're going to see this again on the bigger screen. Here we attack my 3-man here, sees it on the high side, 4-man sees it, get the simple layup. Again, the reason I like all these different things for coaches is that they're just playing. I want them to play off of each other. It's never going to be perfect. And I tell the players this all the time. Look, nobody knows what we're doing out there. You're the only ones. Moms and dads, other players, they don't know. We're going to play off of you. If you happen to screw up, nobody knows. Just keep playing. And that's the thing that we try to teach them. Now, when you screw up is when you don't move, or if you don't, if you just stand there. Here you're going to see where the defense is playing flat. Okay. So on this flat execution, my man comes around the corner, tries to jump off pass. And that's what we look for. Okay. Again, you're going to see in this action here, they're playing flat, but they're so worried about the drive here that the man sucks in on the penetration, doesn't get out fast, and we shoot it. I'm not saying you can't do it. More times than not, I want my kick up looking to attack, but they sucked in so much on that one. Again, defense playing flat. We get the kick up and we go, okay, playing flat, we get it, we penetrate. Open again. Just simple action. It's nothing fancy. Okay, now, when you want to be patient in the corner, there's 2 times. One is when you're being hugged. The other is when you're on the weak side. If the ball's on the other side of the court, that's probably the biggest teaching point, one of the biggest changes I've had in dribble drive through the years. Now you got to really be patient. Again, when the ball goes from one side of the floor to the other, even though it's on one side, your defender is the strong side defender. Now again, when it gets reversed, it becomes the weak side defender. Now all of a sudden it goes from weak side to strong side. And that's where we get so many back cuts, or we get open threes. On this, let me see. You're going to see here the drive, they stuck in. Again, the reason that happened is because they're just, it's so hard for that weak side defender to realize he actually became the strong side defender. Another change through the years, coaches, one of the biggest things, and one of the things I really appreciate going to the NBA, I was lucky enough to go from the JC to college to the NBA. Had 5 years in the NBA, watching different coaches, and obviously being underneath George Karl and Brett Brown was tremendous for me. But getting a chance when I was with Brett, trying to understand how San Antonio was so successful. And one of the things, watching all their films, I think one of the things that they do so well is that they continually move. And when this offense stagnates, and the reason it would stagnate a lot of times was a lot of people think the dribble drive is just dribble, dribble. I'm going to beat my man. If I can, I'll give it to you. You beat your man. If you can't, give it to this guy. No. Pass and cut. If you can't beat your guy, cut. And when I say cut, I'm talking about cut to score. What we do in our practice, if anytime we pass and the player cuts and they don't cut to score, it's a turnover in our practice. Anytime we pass, they cut. When they come out, if we ever pass the ball to a player coming out from the basket and they catch it inside the three-point line, they know it's an automatic turnover. Those are just teaching things that we do I think are really critical. But teaching your team, teaching your players how to cut, I think is really, really crucial. And the other thing, when I first started running, I used to do a lot of T-cut. A T-cut to me was guard to guard. I would cut, then I would come back and fill. Now, whenever we go guard to guard, we basket cut. And I think that has helped us a lot because we look to score off of that. And then the other thing that we do off of that is we also look to get over the gap we cut. So here you see we're stuck. We're just teaching the guys how to keep moving. That's how we want to do things. We're always, they're going to stop us the third. Maybe this guy can't beat his man off the dribble. He's dribbling much. Okay, we get too much in. This man falls asleep, we get the next cut. We always want people cutting. Never stand. The only time you're going to stand is if you're in that opposite corner. We got a cut, back cut, an easy score there. Again, just teaching your players how to continually move. Now, when I came back to Clovis West the second time, the first time at the end, I had these players, I don't think people realize, I was here 13 years. My next to last team I had, we had 17 players on the team. 16 of them I had since first grade. The 17th player came in seventh grade. So I had kids that were working with me and doing the different things. And that became, it's just a very big pride thing to be able to make the Clovis West basketball team. Now, coming back, a lot of my players can't beat their man off the dribble as much as they used to. Okay? Some players some can't. So we've gone to DHOs or we've gone to freeze dribble. This makes it a lot easier for some guys to get the ball to the next player because they can't beat their player. Now, the only problem when you do a lot of DHOs or free dribbles, if that's all you do, you're going to see switches happen more. So here you're going to see this, instead of a kick up where we attack the paint, here you see a DHO, we attack, again, we get the opening there. One of the teaching points, and this is something, if you can understand this, these are some of the teaching points I'll give you. It's not in the PowerPoint here. Whenever we penetrate strong side, so that means one penetrating the 1-2 side. Okay, if one is penetrating the 1-2 side, we say if you're a good driver, you're going to get 1 foot in the paint. If I get 1 foot in the paint when I can drive strong side, I did a heck of a job. Now, if I can get both feet in the paint, I'm a heck of a driver. If both feet are outside the paint when I drop, I get pushed outside the paint, I'm not a very good driver. Okay? So our attack dribbles, we want to try and get 1 foot in the paint. Now, if I go guard to guard and I cut, and I'm not guard on the opposite, now I'm driving that triple gap. If I can get both feet in the paint, I did my job. If I can get both feet and conquer the nail when I drive, I did a heck of a job. If I can't get at least 1 foot in the paint going from a triple gap, I'm never going to be a very good driver. So those are some of the teaching points we have. Here you're going to see another DHO. This guy may not be the best driver, so instead of driving, we go wide. And again, it just creates things for our players. Before I used to have, got to get to the drop zone, and that's not going to happen all the time. Okay, now this is another thing that I've done since I've come back, and I really, really like. I think the game's really changing. I think everybody's seeing that. I think the evolution of the three-point shot, what the success of the Warriors, what the Rockets are doing, how much the three ball's been coming into, usually in the dribble or drive, everybody thinks you're attacking from the up top, the 1 and the 5 areas. I always love to attack from the 2 and the 3 areas. I think they're really good. Once you can learn how to do that, I think you get to a different level. Now, one of the things I've gone to, and again, I haven't put all these clips in there. Most of the clips you've seen are coming from the 1 and the 5, but the 2 and 3 are so critical. I think one of the areas that I've gone to the last couple of years, and I really want to continue with, is I want my 4-man, which is my big, to be able to run the dribble drive for us. And a lot of coaches go, well, what happens if you don't have a big? Well, this is one of the areas, if you don't have a big guy, you can definitely do. What happened to me 2 years ago, I had a football player who was our quarterback, a heck of a player as a sophomore. He was on varsity. He was my backup point guard. I expected him to be my starting point guard the following year. Well, our starting quarterback, who ended up signing with Nebraska, got hurt, and they made my kid Dante be the starting quarterback. So I didn't have Dante all spring, all summer, all during football, and then he came out late because of the playoffs. He came out December, I think like 10th or 12th. Came out really late for it. So he missed everything. So what I experimented with is I put Dante down in the 4 spot, and we would cut off of him, flash him, and then play off of him. And then this year, the next guy I had in that spot was kind of a hybrid 3-4, so we did a lot of different things off of him. Here you're going to see some action that we do. What we do is my 5, you see, he'll cut through, 4 will flash, we might give it to him, get a give it goal layup. Here we got to give him 3. Knock it down, but that's one of the actions that we have. Here you're going to see what we call 14 actions. The give and go again, we hit, we get it, they switch it, we get the roll. It just opens up things. The 14 action, I'm not the smartest. All the 14 actions is we're doing it the 1 and the 4. We call it 14. Again, they hear me yell 14, they know the 5 is going to cut through, the 4 is going to flash up, and it's just a different way of running the offense instead of the point guard always trying to drive it. Here you're going to see, because we run it so much, where our 4-man fakes it and takes it, we get a lot of focus off of this. Comes and it helps because the pretty darn good shooter, so they're all obviously going to stay on him more. Again, you're going to see the same thing. We'll cut through, try to rub off, we get it, take it, we take it. Again, just things that we work on. I would say we probably get 20 baskets a year, 20 baskets a year on stuff we're taking, creating for this guy to get his shots. Okay, now on 14 action, when we go 1 to 4, there's going to be times if you cut hard, they might go underneath. And again, I'm lucky I got a good guard that can hit that, and we have no shooting. So we'll flash here, we go underneath, we won't hesitate. We're going to shoot that 3. Again, same thing here. Here we're going for the last shot. Try to go underneath. Again, just simple action. There's nothing fancy, but I really like running some action with my 4. Okay, now what happens sometimes is we might get the 1 comes off, doesn't get it. Now the 4 gets it. He doesn't feel like he has a drive. Now we'll go to just a DHO. Just another little thing that we do often is cut, pass, don't get it. Here the guard gets it, has a layup, and he's 5'1", he just got it. But it's just stuff that we do. Again, you're going to see action here. You're going to see the same thing. We're going to go through, we flash, get to the wrong side, DHO, we come, we find a guy in the roll wide open. Just different, again, just a different way to do it. Here we talk about getting some little pick and roll action. Okay? So now what happens on this, he comes up, if he's not open, we put him as a screener. And we'll roll with the pick and roll get. So this is one of the times where I do put a little pick and roll action. I don't like to run it right away. I don't like coming down into a pick and roll just because I don't like the spacing of it, and I want my guards in the attack motion. Again, here's our man here he can't really do much else. Go under, create, switch. We'll do certain things there. Another thing that we added off of this, I call it 14 flow. We're going to go 1 to 4, but now when we cut, we're going to cut, and then we're going to just a little side screen, a little side action screen. And off of this, what happens a lot is there's confusion, just like if you ran some corner action. You see what I'm saying here? It's nothing fancy. We hit the guy, we cut through, hit, flash, we don't get it, we put a little back, little screen right there, flash back out, get that. There's a lot of different things you can do off of that. Now what's going to happen, we do our 14, we call flow. Now you're going to get back doors on. So we cut, open here, back door, set him up, we open up that back door for him. Same thing, you're going to see right here. Cut, get that back screen, back cut, back door, work on our action right there. Again, sometimes off of the 14 action, the 14 flow action, the back door is going to be denied, and we'll just come back to the top. Again, I'm just teaching them how to make plays. They send stuff up, they go underneath, bam, knock it down. Now, off of this, we can call 142. Again, it's just 14 action. Now we're going to go to the 2-man. So you're going to see in this action here, where we hit. Okay, you're going to see my point guard. He's going to hit the floor, but he's going to go to the 3 side and we'll hit to the back door. There's different ways. I don't have it in here. We have 143 where we can backdoor the 3. We have different things that way. Just something that you can take advantage of. Any questions, Tom?
Yep, we got some here.
Okay.
How do you adjust on teams that play pack line or just sag off to stop penetration?
Very good question. I get this asked all the time. On the team you saw there in the red that played a lot of pack line, we know we're going to get more 3s than normal. So that's something that we understand. I think the other thing where you get stuck a lot is that when you penetrate so wide, it's easy for teams to switch or to jam things up. And then I think the last 2 other things that we do, teams that switch or play pack line, is that when you pass, we cut hard to score. Because when you cut hard to score, you open up that gap. If it's a jog cut or a lazy cut, it lets things jam that up. And the other thing I do with teams that do switch us is we'll set it up to where we'll get their worst defender on our best offensive player, or we'll get their guy that has maybe 2 fouls in the first half with 5 minutes to go in the half, and we'll try and get him as third, and we'll put him in that situation. So we'll create switches, teams that want to switch things a lot, and we'll get them and take advantage of that.
Coach, could you go over the 1, 2, 3, 5 areas again?
Okay, the 1 and 5 are up top. They're my 2 guards coming down. The 1's on the right side, the 5's on the left side. Okay, I like the 1. We always talk about when the 1 brings it down. Again, I always have little teachings. When you break the court into vertical quarters, if you're bringing the ball down on the outside quarter, I don't think it's a very good point guard, not for me. I want them to be able to control one of the 2 middle quarters, never be pushed to the outside quarter. So one of the teaching points we have is if the ball's on the outside quarter and you're bringing it down, it kind of doesn't let you use both sides of the court as much as I want to be able to. I know in the NBA, they do that a lot because they use their trail big to be able to rotate the ball and so forth. But for me in high school and junior college and college, I want my point guard to be able to at least to be a good guard and get one of those 2 middle quarters. If he's a great guard, we always talk about he conquers the middle. That's lane line to lane line. The 5 is always going to be 15 to 20 feet to the left of him or to the right of him, depending on what side of the court he brings it down. My 2-man is on the right side, the right corner. Right foot is the front of the rim extended, and my 3 is the left side, and he'll be up about 7-8 feet from the rim.
Coach, are there any specifics changes to the offense when you run it against zones?
Yeah, I'll do a few things against the zone. The only thing to try and do against a zone, what's so hard is The philosophy is the same. And this is where, and I kind of laugh, this is where Coach Cal, myself, John will say, we talked to Vance about it. I'm completely different on zones. When I say completely different from John, I have no fear of shooting the three. And the reason I say that is they're going to pack it in. Our mentality still is three are key. Obviously, I love the key more than I do the three. I love both of them. In a normal game, if we got 65 shots up in the game, I'd love to see 45 be in the key. I'd love to see 20 of them be from the three. Against a zone, it might be 50-50. It may happen that way. I don't worry about that. I know when I was in junior college, we had a 4-year record in junior college. We went 133-11. And in those 4 years, we got zone 5.5 games. Those 5 games, we put 17, 19, 21, and 23 threes in during those 5 games. And as a coach, those are just half. I mean, those are college games. They're not 48-minute pro games. You put 17 threes in on somebody, it hurts them a little bit. The half of a game, and this is God's honest truth, we were zone 1 half. We went 19 for 31 in the first half. I know 31 threes is a lot, but it doesn't bother me. But to be effective with that, I think what people don't realize is you have to be able to offensive rebound out of the zone. And what we try and do, doesn't matter if it's zone or man, on any shot that goes up, if you notice, we always have somebody in that weak side corner. The big is always opposite. So what we teach on our offensive rebounding when the shot goes up is the opposite, is the big, when the ball goes up and he's away from the ball on the other side, we teach him to drive middle. We teach our weak side wing, he's the one that's going to come in baseline through the baseline. To me, the laziest screen out person is always that weak side wing. And then if we have and I'm a gambler, I like to send 4 to the boards. Our 4th rebounder is going to go right through that gut there. So I basically have 3 players rebounding on that weak side. My back man is usually at the NBA 3. Again, I gamble a little bit on that. Obviously, he knows that somebody leaks behind him. He has to go back. But what happens a lot of times is when we get that weak side rebound, my man up top will drag back, and we can get our best shooter 2 or 3 more threes a game that way. And that's really critical.
What is the freeze dribble, Coach?
The freeze dribble is, some people think it's a DHO. The freeze dribble is when I'm going to set my man up, is I'm going to dribble as hard as I can at his man, not at him, at his man. And it's kind of like a deer in the headlights. I want to try and freeze that defender, and then my teammate comes off of me real hard.
What action do you run to give a back to the basket post the opportunity to seal and post up on the block?
We call it, it's real tough. It's my 4-man. We call it 4. We have all kinds of 4 plays. And that'll be guard to wing, 1 to 2, pass. We cut them through. Everybody rotates over. We bring the 1 off the 4. We go back to the 1, into the 4. We get them the ball. I got a ton of different ways to get the 4 ball. Now, when people go, well, you don't get the ball to your big as much. For me, more times than not, my big guy is usually my 3rd, 4th, 5th, or sometimes my 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th best player. Not to be mean, I really don't want to go to my 5th, 6th, 7th best player if we're going to call something. Now, I'm going to have some bigs coming up where we're going to be able to go inside to them. And what I try and teach my bigs, I want them to be both an inside, outside player. And so we teach him how to score with his back to the bucket, and we also teach him how to flash and be able to do certain things.
The corner 3 is a high percentage shot. How do you get that if you're kicking up on the initial drive?
Well, the reason we kick up, okay, on the initial drive, if you're playing a good team, they're not going to give you the corner 3. I mean, if you're playing a crappy team, you can stay there and you can get it. But if you're playing a good team, any good team with a good shooter in that corner, when you penetrate strong side, you're not going to get that. You're just not going to get it. But what you're going to get is you're going to get that kick up. You're going to get that attack. And when you attack the other side, you're going to get that corner 3. And that's what you've got to be able to understand. See, people think it's just going to be on one penetration. When you play good teams, it's going to take 3, 4, maybe 5 penetrations before you can get that shot that you want to get. And there's another thing I'll talk about when we penetrate later on. The good players You know, a good referee on when you drive on the first bump, a good referee is never going to call that foul. On the second bump, they might start thinking about it. On that third bump, you're probably going to get that call. So a good driver's got to learn how to drive through bumps, and that's one of the things that we do try and teach them. But corner threes, again, believe me, we get plenty of threes. I can get all the threes we want. I want the mentality of attacking the rack more.
Do you have a specific transition drill to get into the dribble drive? If so, is it a build-up, or do you go 5-on-0 right away?
No, honestly, and people will laugh at this, our offense is, everybody talks about they got a primary break and a secondary break. Our primary break is our offense. We're coming right down in the dribble drive. Okay, we can come right down. I can tell right now if the two's open, I'm going to kick ahead. He's going to start the offense. If the two's denied and they're sagging back on me, 5 might cut through, I can go either way. And that's what we try and teach them. We come right down into dribble drive. And again, the blood drill, especially blood 44, is one of the best ways. You know, again, we do that each day. That teaches them how just to play off of one another.
Do you emphasize catch and shoot, or discourage either 1 or 2 dribble pull-ups?
Again, if you want to be a coach that wants to, you know, try and get players away from us, I have some coaches all the time, well, they don't shoot the mid-range shot. And he's right. I would say 98% of my players I won't let shoot the mid-range shot. And there's a reason for that. I like to win. I want them to understand. And here's what I try and teach them. And I try and tell my players this: look, if you can get the ball, if you can take it to the rack, you're a heck of a player. Now, if you can take it to the rack and you can knock down a 3, how valuable are you going to be? Okay. So when you talk about, I want to pull up and take this 15-footer, for me, that's softness. For me, that's somebody that doesn't want to get bumped and get to the rack to try and create for the others. I still think the way you win games is by attacking that rack, getting the other team in foul trouble, getting to the free throw line yourself. So to me, when I get that special player who could shoot the 3, who could take it to the rack, then the next thing I teach them, besides cutting, is we let them go ahead and take a few mid-range shots. I've had a few players through my high school. I have one right now who's a very good shooter, and you know, any shot he takes is probably a good shot. But he knows I like to see him get to the rack more or take the 3, honestly.
How long does it take you to put in the whole system, Coach?
42 years. No, the whole system. And this is what people, when people ask, you know, how long does it take? I'm just going to tell you this. Once you start it and you really believe in it, and you do the daily 45 drills. If you don't do the daily 45 drills, you know, you're just going to get bits and pieces. The daily 45 drills, it teaches you the ball handling, it teaches you the spacing, it teaches you all the little things. It has a lot of shooting in it. Once you do those and you stay with it, each year that you run it, you're going to see little things that you can pick up. I've been doing this since the late 90s, I think 97, 98, and I'm still picking up things that I know I get just coaching it still, taking advantage of. You know, through these 20 plus years, I've seen how teams try to stop it. So I'm always trying to add different things. Again, each year you do it, you're going to get better and better at it. The biggest thing I don't think people realize with the dribble drive, and coaches, I really want you to understand this. So many of us, and I was the same way, and I still do, you want to teach them set plays. And there's nothing wrong with that. You want to be able to have a few ATOs, plays coming out of ATO and so forth. But what happens if all you run is set play, set play, set play? To me, the way we play, by teaching them how to play, we get better through the course of the year because they're learning how to get better and better. They're not just learning how to run those plays.
Why did you give the number 5 to the ball handler?
The reason I gave 5 to the ball handler is and this is the truth. This is the truth. When I started running it, I used to have the 5. Everybody's 5 would take out. The big would take it out, right? But a lot of people didn't press and so forth. But when I would run this, I had a really good point guard, a kid named Chris Hernandez, ended up being a 3-year All Pac-10 player at Stanford. Well, Chris was my point guard, so to slow people down, they would take their second guy up front, and they would double Chris right away. And then as a coach, if you get doubled, you throw it back to your big. And I always told my big, if you dribble, I'm going to shoot you. So what I decided to do, and this is really how the blood drills came about, is I decided to get my big, instead of having my big take it out, I wanted my second best ball handling guard taking it out. So I just, it was a 5 taking it out, and my 5 at the time wanted to be a 4. And seriously, I wasn't joking about that. So I said, okay, you're a 4 now. You're still going to run down the middle, but you're not taking it out. So one of my 5 are my bookends. Those are the 2 that take the ball out and bring it up.
Coach?
Yes.
How much longer do you want to go?
You tell me. I'm good.
You got as much time as you want, so we don't.
I mean, what time is it? I have no clue.
It's 14 after.
I'm sorry. Okay. I'll go through this. Okay, so you got the changes. We talked about pick and roll. We did some of that. Just teach them how to rack it. Just a few things here on this for people to see. So many people drive with the first dribble next to them, and that's such a big teaching point for us. The 3 big teaching points that we try and get them is that first dribble's out. You got to learn how to clip the hip, and we mean by getting low and be able to bump their hip and get their shoulders facing the basket as soon as possible. Those are the 3 things we really teach on how to drive the ball. If that first dribble is you're standing high and it's next to you, you're never going to be good. If you don't get low and be able to clip the hip means that we want to bump them first. We want to get low enough. And as soon as I can get my shoulders facing that basket, the better I'll be the driver. And again, toughness factor, the first one is, can you hit them before they hit you? Because if you drive and you don't clip the hip, you're going to drive, there's a gap between you, they're going to bump you off your driving. And then the other toughness factor I talked about earlier, it might be 1 bump, it might be 2 bumps, you might have to have 3 bumps before you can beat that guy. But again, for us, that was why the weight room was so important, having that strength. When I had Chris Hernandez, this guy's on his truth, Chris was benching 325 as a 172-pound senior in high school. He worked his tail in the weight room, and so when he drove, people bounced off of him. Dribble drive against the zone. I'm really not going to go over that. We don't really have that much time. I talked a little bit about it. The biggest thing is my wings are up instead of down. We got to be able to get the ball from guard to wing, from point to wing to start things. And I teach them what's called 2-set. Maybe one of these times I'll go through that. It's actually in that second dribble drive tape we have, Tom, if they want to get that. And again, just the final thoughts. This is only one way to play. It's not right for everyone. And I talked about this earlier, if you're a coach who wants to call play every time down, this is not what you really want to do. I love playing coaches that call play every time because I know the way we press, you're not going to be able to do that. So it's just the way I like. It's not for everybody. I just know there's a lot of coaches that I've worked with through the years. I've worked with over 1,000 coaches, thousands of coaches on this, and I know a lot of them had success. Again, if any of you have questions, you got my email right there, vancewalberg@cusd.com. If you want to email me, I can send you. I got a little, daily 45 drill booklet I had from years ago, and I might send if you want some of my practices. I can send you 5 or 6 practices that I have. No problem at all. I'm good, Tom. Whatever else you want. Any more questions?
I got 2 questions to ask you, and then we'll call it a day. Dribble drive aside, what would be your top 3 as a coach? What most important to you? Dribble drive aside, what would be your top 3? I don't know what he's asking. Maybe he's asking about your.
I can tell you right now, the number one thing most important to me is shot selection.
Got it.
Bear none. When I watch another team warm up and I see them shoot a lot of 15, 18 footers, I know for me, our chance of success is going to go up. Our chance of winning, I feel like it's so much more than the other team. Doesn't mean it's going to happen all the time, but it's just the way I feel. And here's one of the things I always laugh at. We would press teams, and I can't tell you how many times the other coach is all pissed because we press them the whole game. They don't press us. We shoot 34 free throws. They shoot 16. But what they don't realize is that when we press and what we do, we're attacking the rack all the time. We press them, they might beat us in the press, but they're pulling up and taking those 15, 18 footers because they don't want to get down and dirty. So again, that's one thing. One of the other things I really preach is the 2 extras, the extra pass and the extra effort. Those are givens. We always want to try and make that extra pass. We want to go from good to great whenever we can. And again, for me, that effort, if that effort's not there, I think you're always going to have problems. And I think the third thing is just the culture, if that's what he's asking, the culture that you develop with your team.
Coach, is your daughter coaching there also?
My daughter was coaching at the rival high school, Clovis North High School. She just finished her 10th or 8th season as the head varsity coach there. Unfortunately for her, she's in the same league with Clovis West girls. We got a heck of a coach here who does a great job. They won a national championship, I believe, 3 years ago. Both teams were in the top 15 in the country, I think, at one time this year and last year. They both have very good teams.
Well, I've heard nothing but great things about her too. So good job out of you. Coach, thanks for being on. Coach's email address is right here, Vance Walberg at CUSD.com. All right, Coach, thanks a ton. We hope to have you in these fall clinics if we can get those squared away if this COVID-19 disappears. All right?
Love to. Take care, Tom.
Thanks, Coach, for everything. Have a great day. Bruce Weber in 40 minutes.